Shalom, first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash, Bracha Thumb. And if you're a part of the elect and you know that all this shit yesterday with the fake-ass shooting, I mean the so-called shooting, I mean it probably didn't happen, distraction news, then you must be aware that a lot of things really did take event. If they're having to do this, because they can't really talk about Sri Lanka bombing anymore because that's old. Kentucky Derby now, that's a little bit old. So they got to distract you with this shit, right? So here's some distraction news, and then we'll get into the real shootings, and that happens to be, meanwhile, in Syria. So let's just go ahead and deal with this. Oh no, some goddamn fucking Edomites got shot. Them motherfuckers. I mean, it couldn't happen to a better bunch of people that came in here and stole land, live in land that doesn't belong to them, right? Another Sandy hoax, not again. Further investigations under the way. Yeah. And if it is real, you know it's a goddamn Edomite that shot them. Oh, but does this kind of... You know what? I have a sense of humor. I think I'll do it. Hold on a second. Meanwhile, along with America's support, ISIS is getting stronger, and here's some real shooting, so I think I'll just play this music here. See, they wouldn't play music like this if it's Syria, right? Well, I brought it in. وما بين قائل باغتيال القيادي عبد الله حسين القحيم قرب منزله وقائل آخر بدهم المنزل وقتله داخله. Terrorism all over Syria because the U.S. supported terrorist groups are wreaking havoc on Syria. But you were distracted with that so-called shooting yesterday, right? But this is a real shooting that's going on. And it happens every day in Syria. من اغتيال أئمة المساجد وخطبائها من سلفيين وإصلاحيين معارضين للإمارات وحلفائها وتصفيتهم إلى تصفية قادة الحراك الجنوبي المعارض للمجلس الانتقالي المدعوم إماراتيا شبحوا الاغتيالات. So you see this shit all the time in Syria. Oh, but they will put dramatical music like that.
نظام العدو الإماراتي أو نظام العدو السعودي أو نظام التحالف بشكل عام، وهو نعلم أنه قيادة وسياسة بريطانية في الاعتماد على التصفية الجسدية لكل من يعارض أو يعي أو يدرك بأن قوات التحالف العدوان ليست للتحرير ولكنها للاحتلال.
المجلس الأعلى للحراك الثوري وهو فصيل معارض للمجلس الانتقالي الجنوبي سارع إلى دعوة السلطات.
Again, they used to have Syria news in English, but that's been removed, as well as Press TV, and I actually got a video on that.
متلاحقة بأشكال مختلفة داعيا مسؤوليه في كل المحافظات والمناطق إلى اتخاذ الحيطة والحذر. صراع أجندات إقليمية دولية أدواته جنوبية وساحته جنوبية. هكذا.
But you're distracted with so-called shootings over here, right? Here's some more. ISIS just getting stronger than ever.
لملاحقة فلول داعش ومنع من يحاول التسلل بين
العراق وسوريا.
أكثر من 250 كيلومترا جرى مسحها أمنيا عند الحدود في ظل تنسيق عالي المستوى بين بغداد ودمشق لحفظ الأمن المشترك.
بعد عملية القضاء على تنظيمات داعش الإرهابية في سوريا على مستوى أكبر ينبغي تأمين الحدود بين الطرفين، ولا سيما ما زالت هناك بعض الخلايا نشطة جدا في الأراضي السورية أكثر ما نشاطها في الأراضي العراقية، وبهذا يخشى الطرفين على أن تكون هناك عملية استهداف لحركة المرور التجاري والسياحي.
الصحراء الممتدة من كربلاء حتى الأنبار وصولا إلى غرب نينوى تحت المجهر الأمني العراقي، فهي وفق المختصين تمثل البيئة الأخيرة لنشاط فلول داعش.
Like I said, they don't put music in there, you know, when it happens in Syria or Libya or Yemen, but they'll do it for a false flag shooting over here.
لمنع أي خروق أمنية في المستقبل.
But I can show you children dying here in Syria and Yemen all the time. There's a famine going on in Yemen.
إلى أنه ما عندنا قوات منتشرة بصورة كافية خصوصا مناطق الجزيرة.
الخطط الأمنية التي وضعتها الحكومة العراقية أخيرا للحفاظ على الأمن والاستقرار اللذين تحققا بعد هزم داعش.
There is a war going on and they don't want you knowing about it.
تتوفر بشأنها معلومات استخباراتية تخص نشاط الخلايا الإرهابية. بغداد انتهت من تأمين آخر المدن.
So, anyhow, that's what they don't want you talking about, you know. Meanwhile, Gomer is going through with the S-400 deal, and they're getting ready to defend themselves because they know that the U.S. aircraft carrier and the B-52 bombers are coming into Persia, and you can best believe another false flag is about to go off, and Gomer wants to make sure that it's protected against the United Snakes.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg attended the 25th anniversary meeting of the Mediterranean Dialogue held in Ankara. He then held talks with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and the Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu. Speaking at the forum, Stoltenberg emphasized Turkey's value to the alliance and stated that NATO stood with Turkey as it faces serious security challenges. During Stoltenberg's talks with Turkish officials, Ankara's controversial agreement with Moscow to buy an S-400 missile defense system was top of the agenda. The U.S. has been urging Turkey to withdraw from the deal with Russia, stating that the move would compromise the F-35 strike fighter program. Washington has already taken concrete steps in reaction to the deal, as it has halted the delivery of the F-35 equipment to Turkey. U.S. officials have also threatened Turkey, stating that going forward with the deal with Russia meant risking expulsion from the F-35 program. Stoltenberg expressed his concerns over the agreement.
I am concerned about the potential consequences of the decision to buy S-400. The U.S., because the U.S. has made it clear that they will impose sanctions. So this is an issue which has been addressed several times, both in my meetings in Washington and in Ankara, and I hope that it is possible to find a solution, because we have to avoid coming in a situation where one NATO ally is imposing sanctions against another.
But Turkey remains defiant. Officials have repeatedly stated Ankara could not abandon the Russia deal and that payments had already been made.
Yeah, who the fuck is America to interrupt a deal that already was made?
Russia and NATO.
Oh, well, you want to F-35s, well, you have to withdraw from this. And fuck you, you know? And that's what he's saying. Fuck you.
The relations Turkey has established with different countries and regions are not alternatives for one another, but complementary to each other. We don't appreciate efforts to revive disputes over issues such as the S-400 missiles. It is a matter of our country's sovereign rights.
Analysts say the S-400 agreement with Moscow is expected to damage Turkey-U.S. ties and likely hurt the economy if Washington imposes sanctions as promised. Nevertheless, it seems Ankara is determined to follow through with its deal with Russia. Khalbar David, CGTN, Istanbul.
So like I said before, that false flag shooting mostly is to distract you from what's going on with Syria, Iran, Iraq, Libya, you know, all them other wars that the U.S. is involved with. They don't want you talking about that, so they'd rather just have the news flooded with this so-called shooting that most likely is fake.
Intense fighting has broken out in northwestern Syria. as government forces step up their bombardment of rebel-held villages. Renewed fighting between troops and opposition forces have killed dozens of people in Idlib province. This wave of violence began last week and is the worst since September, when Russia and Turkey brokered a ceasefire for Syria's last major rebel stronghold.
So you see, all that was just stalling, so that way the terrorist groups can get stronger with the U.S. support. And this is another brother who brought this video. I'm just going to let him tell it, man. This is Men of Valor, Protects and Warn the Sheep. So, pretty much, he's putting a warning out here, you know, that, you know, these B-52 bombers being deployed to Iran, that the war is imminent. You know, be ready for the next false flag, pretty much.
Giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem Shai. Giving all praises to Yahweh Hashem Shai. Double honors and many life for this truth. The dead in Yahweh Shai shall rise first. And double honors to the elders and apostles that told me the truth. The elders of the house of David, the 144,000 elect. 1/3 men, women, and children. Men, women, and children as part of the elect. The Israelite foreigners that scattered in the four corners of the earth, confusion of faces. Speaking in different tongues, meaning in different languages, where Israel was scattered. And basically, yeah, Khan, man, it's a hot summer. I just want to bring this out real quick. You know, I'm a little bit up, but just had to bring this out for vibration's sake. B-52 bombers deployed to Iran. War imminent. Right? The Lord's bringing war, man. That's the vibration that's in the air. It's coming, people. Wars and rumors of wars. A war that has never been seen upon the face of the earth. Sounds familiar. Looks really bad. Might be time to get right with Yahweh. Yesterday there was war too, but in Russia. They just sent B-52 bombers over there into Iran. And the ones of us that know that Ezekiel 38. It's a major prophecy. You know. It's a major prophecy. You watch the comment boards. It's all about war, man. That's the 753rd time. And last year we had a world war. This sucks. Destroying a B-52. False flags, folks. False flags, folks. But it's not long now. I hope you're all ready. Choose right, not wrong. Yeah, that's right. We're still in the national emergency. Drums have begun. Level 1-3 start. Bolton wants to launch Operation Barbosa Part 2. This is Israel that has done this. The warmongers. Perpetual propaganda war. That's why they want to shut the internet down too. A lot of people waking up to you Edomites, man. Even Edomites are waking up to Edomites. And making no mistake, the false flag will be very real. This is it, man. It's been a very demonic week too. A demonic week for myself. And all you brothers and sisters too. Have your testimonies, man. It's been a crazy ass week, man. Real demonic, man. You know, every day is a good day for me. Fear mongering. You guys will never be happy until World War III starts. It is in the days of Noah. I think the war ain't gonna pop off. It was already popping off though, man. All over the world. You know? Golden Heights, the West Bank, here it comes. Remember that it was Israel who claimed back in 1992. Back in 1992, that Iran was weeks away from having a bomb. This is the same messenger that claims Israel has no bombs. Can you trust Israeli intelligence? Remember the Mossad created Hamas. Remember Israel, the good guy in the Middle East. Iran, very, very bad. It's true, man. You know, it's funny that Endgame movie's out too. Most Americans have lost their critical thinking skills and ability to think logically. Iran knows that it cannot win a war against the U.S., but Israeli intelligence say that Iran will attack. It's like the plot with a Marvel comic. But most will buy it because it was broadcast CNN. Chad, I really don't want to hear about this because you may very well likely be on money. The day the U.S. is going to make it to be a false flag attack by using speedboats as a trick for attack. Of course. You know, this is all propaganda, man. For war. Because ultimately the scriptures say wars and rumors of war. You read the comments on them about war, 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 war. There's a vibration that's in the air. NWO is very close. Oh, we at that time, man. Ezekiel 38, the war with Iran, the Persians. The big guys and God's going to be defensive to Russia. Spiritually, they attacked the Russian base in Syria yesterday. Now you have the situation with Iran. So this is all biblical prophecy, man. World War III is in the midst. Now the army, they're going to bring out new uniforms that resemble World War II. You know? That resemble World War II, man. You know? So we at the end of this thing, man. Prophecy right here in your face. Magog and Gog will be a defense unto Persia. This is Iran. You know, we at that time now. So stay strong. You know, we'll keep you updated if I find anything else. Giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai. Keep your eyes on the news, man. These are wars and rumors of wars. The Lord of hosts. War, man. It's all prophecy. The second war was past and the third war coming quickly.
And so we'll just keep on going. I mean, because that spirit is in the air right now. And just like they shut down the Syria news agency, Syria Arab News Agency, as well as Ortus channel, aka pro-Syrian government channels, they have now taken down Press TV because now RT is talking about it on Redacted tonight, a segment out of RT.
The only place you can actually find out what's going on in Venezuela, what's actually going on, or even a lot of countries around the world, is to look to alternative media not owned by corporate America. So Google, YouTube, and Facebook are trying their best to make sure you can't do that. Last week, they removed the Iranian-funded television channel Press TV from YouTube and all other Google platforms. Now, this is a bold gesture, all right? A bold gesture which stands up for the long-held American tenet of freedom of speech unless we disagree with you. Yes. It's in the Constitution. So YouTube removes Iranian news channels, but keeps up plenty of white supremacist channels, which, you know, that is useful because you never know when you might want to learn the hip new racial epithet for Mexicans. You know, you don't want to be caught using your grandparents' vulgar slang. They're like, oh, these fucking walnuts coming over here. And people are like, what did you just say? Walnuts? We're not using walnuts no more? Many are asking how YouTube decided to remove Press TV when they've shown no urgency to remove other channels, like, say, the baby slapping channel. You know? It's one of my favorites, in which a guy dressed up like a mime runs around slapping babies on the street while yelling, cock-a-doodle-doo! It's okay. So, I made that channel up, but it probably does exist. I mean, it's fucking YouTube, for God's sake. Is there anything not on YouTube? You could find a mostly nude cooking channel where celebrities eat spicy chicken wings while singing karaoke, all right? But Press TV was revealing things about our beloved American empire that our dear leaders did not want revealed. So it had to be taken down, much like WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. This week, he was sentenced to nearly a year in British jail, on top of the 7 he's already done in the Ecuadorian embassy. Now our government wants to extradite him here because we don't feel he's being effectively tortured over there. I mean, we're really good at it here, and you can't send in an amateur to do a pro's work. I mean, you know a country is good at torturing when we even have a lot of people being tortured by our healthcare system.
Okay, it was a comedy, but it's all fucking true, man. I mean, pretty much, though, you can find anything else you want on fucking YouTube, but they fucking remove Press TV, because if you go there, you're only going to find videos 2 weeks old, like I was just saying in yesterday's. And speaking of fucking, you know, America, the whore, Babylon the Great, and their war on information, which means that they're going to be coming after us very soon here, you know, with the Julian Assange arrest and with the fact that they have taken down Press TV and Syria news channels. So, you know, pretty much let's not forget what they did to detain a Press TV reporter. And while they were detaining a Press TV
Well,
reporter.
arguably the minds of British authorities have long been closed when it comes to broadcast freedom in the UK. Iranian channel Press TV is banned from broadcast here. It's a channel I worked at with filmmaker and anchor Marzia Hashemi, who has been freed after controversial detention on the orders of the US Justice Department. In her first internationally broadcast interview, she joins me now via Skype from the US Capitol. Marzia, thanks so much for being on Going Underground. Before we even go to what on earth happened to you, I understand you continue to say that people all around the world need to protest the USA's so-called legal system.
And you are hearing uproars of the people since
with
this.
You. And, well, when I got out, I understood that rallies were going to be held in conjunction with demanding my release. And what I'm asking people to do, definitely continue with those rallies, because it's not about Marzia Hashemi. It's not about me. It's about the ability for the U.S. Basically to detain anyone. I would say illegally, though they are going to say that it's legal. So it's much bigger than me. We want to demand a stop to these actions in this country.
Yeah, Marzia, just to be clear, under U.S. law, anyone can be arrested who is material in a criminal proceeding. And, of course, the USA not a signatory to the International Court in The Hague.
Yes, exactly. So saying that a material witness, it is mind-boggling that you can be arrested, detained, shackled, not charged with a crime. And, wow, I definitely saw it firsthand.
Just take us through it then. I mean, you're now reunited with your family, but you landed at St. Louis Airport on the 30th of January. What happened?
Well, actually, we were leaving St. Louis. I had been filming a documentary in St. Louis, Afshin, and I was, my son and I were leaving, or attempting to leave St. Louis to go back to Denver, where my other two kids reside. I was at the gate waiting for my flight, and all of a sudden my name was called to go up to the desk, which I went up to, and she said, well, you've been selected for early boarding. And I'm like, okay. And of course I was suspicious. Let me just say, side note, that whenever I travel to the United States, I'm always questioned. And whenever I travel domestically inside of the United States, if I want to make a domestic flight, I have to be at the airport 3 to 3.5 hours prior to any flight.
As a U.S. citizen. As a U.S. citizen.
As a U.S. citizen traveling inside of the United States. And when we turned the corner, there they were waiting. And the FBI agent, she said my name, and she said, you are being detained. And I said, am I under arrest? And she said, yes, you are. I was flown private plane, Afshin, to D.C., and then met with a whole lot of FBI, taken to the FBI headquarters. I was, my picture was taken, mugshots, they took my DNA.
Wait, no one has read you the rights. No one has still yet read you the rights.
No one ever read me my rights, Afshin. My rights were not read. And I said, well, I protest. I don't want to give my DNA. But they did take my DNA. They did take my fingerprints. I was held there a while and then transferred to, I believe, Central Jail. I'm sorry, I don't know the actual names of the facilities that I was taken to. I was shackled.
I should just say, I mean, you told them you're a journalist and filmmaker.
Of course, they know who I am.
I think investigating Black Lives Matter movement activism in the U.S.
Well, no, I wasn't, let me clarify that. I wasn't investigating Black Lives Matter. I was, actually, I did a documentary almost 5 years ago, Afshin, post Mike Brown death there, revisiting St. Louis, because this coming August will be 5 years since the killing of Mike Brown. My scarf was taken off. for the mugshot, and then I put it back on for that night.
So you took the scarf off, or did they take it off?
At that place, well, ultimately I took it off, but in protest, because they told me that I must take it off.
You could phone your family to tell them where you were?
Fortunately, my son, who was with me trying to get on that flight in St. Louis, and he did not get on that flight in Denver, which I had told him to, because the FBI was with him and accompanied him the whole night.
So nonetheless, though, you know, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you get the gist of it. They pretty much had tricked her into taking this other flight, and that's when they busted her. So, you know, we going out there and we're teaching, you know, and man, it's not worth it to fast travel. It's not worth it to take a flight, because that's how Esau gets you right there. Not to mention, if you're non-compliant with the so-called real ID, you're not going to be able to get into airports anyways. So continuing on with wars and rumors of wars, you know that the censorship of the press, TV, media is a big part of the war against Persia. But also, you know, there's new tariffs against China, and the United Snakes, the whore, Babylon the Great, is taking provocative actions in the South China Seas as well. Check this out. And this is recent. This is while they were supposedly shooting yesterday.
The United States has just recently carried out a provocative act against the government of China. 2 U.S. warships went into the South China Sea and went within 12 nautical miles of 2 islands that are under dispute. China claims that they are its territory, while the United States claims that they are in international waters. Now, they were both the Premble and the Chun Hun. These were U.S. warships. They were guided missile destroyers that were sent close to the islands. They go by the names the Johnson Reefs and the Gavin Reefs. So this is a very dangerous situation where you have the U.S. deliberately provoking China using warships. Now, Commander Clay Doss of the U.S. 7th Fleet says that this was intended as an innocent maneuver, but also says that they are challenging excessive maritime claims to preserve access to waterways as governed by international law. So it seems that the commander is actually contradicting himself. Were they meant to challenge China, or were they innocent maneuvers? Because they certainly cannot be both. Now, the Chinese Navy reportedly asked the U.S. vessels to leave. The relevant actions of the U.S. warships violated China's sovereignty and undermined peace, security, and good order in the relevant sea areas. The Chinese side expresses strong dissatisfaction and resolute opposition. Now, despite U.S. claims that this was innocent and not intended to provoke, and then completely contradicting themselves, we should also understand that this came only a few hours after U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he would hike an additional $200 billion worth of tariffs against Chinese goods after it was failed, that both sides failed to come to an agreement what the tariffs or the trade relationship between the two countries should be. So it's very clear that this was a threat made by Washington against China at the failure of these negotiations. Now, it should be noted, of course, that China and the United States have had an ongoing trade relationship that has been very rocky at times, as both countries are reliant on each other. However, this has been sabotaged by the current president, Donald Trump, who seems fit to just place tariffs on countries even though they already have the standing agreements against them. And this has been going on as a months-long trade war. Now, it's very clear that the South China Sea has a great deal of resources in it, and this is contested by many countries, including China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Brunei. But the fact that the U.S. would do this only hours after an agreement was failed to be reached between the two countries showed that this very much was a deliberate provocative act that was intended to attempt to intimidate China in some way. Of course, it would take much more than that to intimidate something, a country as powerful as China. But it's very clear what the U.S. was doing here. They were intending to provoke. Now, I don't believe that they were attempting to start a war. They were certainly willing to send the message that they are willing to be militarily hostile, which is why you would send warships into an area that is certainly hotly contested. And it should be known that in maritime law, the U.S., it cannot declare islands simply by sending military force in them. It's something that has to be done diplomatically. But what we have very clearly here is an attempt by the United States to intimidate China. Once they could not get what they wanted out of China, which would be a very weakened trade relationship between the two, not something that would be mutually beneficial at best, they attempted to use force and to coerce China into a better situation. But this is the kind of very dangerous thing that can explode into something much larger. This could turn into a military conflict. If they had not left, maybe China would have opened fire in order to defend its territory, and that could snowball into a much larger global conflict. And this does come at a time when U.S. power is being challenged by many countries around the world, particularly China and Russia, both countries of which are currently engaged with very difficult trade relations at this time, that are suffering from tariffs that have been placed on them by the United States. And both of these countries are expanding much of their influence and rising to challenge the United States' hegemonic position in the world. Of course, they cannot overtake the United States at this point, but they are presenting enough of a resistance to it, enough to make the U.S. concerned that maybe the combination of these two countries in the future would be able to do so. And as a result, we are seeing the U.S. empire being threatened, and that as a result, the United States is resorting to much more provocative and even in a way, violent actions to try to maintain its global position.
So there you go, trying to flex its muscles to try to show off whatever it is they think they have. Which, you know as well as I do, that America, Babylon the Great, has no dick anymore. And so while they got no dick, here's the other thing, though, is the Israeli state, Amalek, is pretty much saying that, oh, we're going to have this peace deal, but you better shut the fuck up, because this is our peace deal, you know. Man, these bastards have been dwelling in Ashdod for a long time, and we can't wait till that whole fucking place is destroyed. Bring it on.
There is a new secret plan tonight being offered as a peaceful solution to the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Now, according to an article in the newspaper Israel Hayom, a Palestinian state called New Palestine would be established on lands in the now occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip. Now, here's essentially how else this thing's going to work. So, Palestinian residents living in Jerusalem would be citizens of the Palestinian state. It's going to be called New Palestine. They would pay taxes to the Israeli municipality and in return be in charge of education for Palestinians in that city. The deal would maintain the status quo of holy sites in the city, and Jewish Israelis won't be allowed to buy Palestinian houses and vice versa in that particular area of Egypt. Meanwhile, Israeli settlements in the West Bank, which are deemed illegal under international law, would formally be recognized as part of Israel. And according to the document, Egypt will offer lands near the Gaza Strip for New Palestine, where they're going to be building an airport, factories, and serve the commercial and agricultural sectors, without, again, allowing Palestinians to reside on these lands. This part of the agreement will supposedly be implemented within 5 years following its signature. Now, here's an interesting part of this plan. A highway will be built. It's going to be about 10 stories high, connecting the now isolated Gaza Strip with the West Bank. China supposedly is going to pay 50% of the highway's cost. South Korea, Australia, Canada, and the United States and the EU would each pay about 10%. For more on this New Palestine project, I'm joined by Nico Palet. Nico is an Israeli-American activist who wrote The General Sun, Journey of an Israeli in Palestine and Injustice. Okay. New Palestine. Sounds like a great idea. What do you think?
Yes, I'm sure, you know, Palestinians who have been using the name Palestine to describe their country for the last 4,000 years are going to be thrilled that there's now a new name and there's no country, because they don't
As
get
if
any of it.
y'all were
They go to
there for
Israel.
that long.
So I'm sure they're going to be thrilled about this.
The idea that Jared Kushner, who's really not an independent
You see that witchcraft there? They're trying to make you believe that they've always been there.
Seemingly come up with this plan and is pitching it to all parties does make one suspect whether this is genuine or not. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, this was concocted by him, Netanyahu, probably Ambassador Friedman, who was the ambassador in Tel Aviv. And it's presenting the Palestinians with a reality that they get absolutely nothing and they need to shut up. There are no refugees. We know that already from the fact that they stopped funding UNRWA. There's no Jerusalem, because that's been recognized as a part of Israel. The West Bank, or as they call it, Judea and Samaria, will be recognized as part of Israel very soon, I'm sure. And so Palestinians get nothing, and they need to just sit down and behave like good little boys and girls.
And be happy that we're even talking to them?
It's absurd, yes. It's absurd. No Palestinian is going to accept it, and this is
And that'll be their reason for further war. Meanwhile, while you got that going on, expect different prices at the pump.
Now, average gasoline prices at the pump here in South Korea have surpassed 1,500 won, or $1.30 a litre, for the first time in 5 months. Now, this jump in prices came as the government began reducing its fuel tax cut on Tuesday.
So this is in Korea.
The South Korean government is phasing out
gas
fuel
is
tax
$3.85
cuts
a gallon here in Reading, and that's not even Chevron, by the way.
Run through the end of August. The industry reports there will be a difference in the speed and degree of
and that's
rise
price
at each
per liter over
station,
there.
but it's
Different
inevitable
system.
prices will rise over the next couple of weeks or so. Scrapped US sanctions waivers on Iranian oil are expected to also put upward pressure on oil prices.
Got to remember, South Korea is on that list of no more exemptions. So, and that's supposed to be an ally of the United States, you know, with these tariffs. So you can see wars and rumors of wars, which is pretty much the majority of what we've been looking at here. Now, I could read out of Matthew chapter 24, and I probably will very soon, but I really wanted to get into here, you know, because this is what's going on. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, and I'll start verse 1 and work my way down a bit, because we're seeing all this happen. I will stand upon my watch and set upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And that's just it, though, is, you know, being reproved is a good thing, you know, because being reproved means that you have, you know, fresh. It's fresh. It's pretty much been gone over, and, you know that you're speaking clearly when you have been reproved. So you never want to go out there unseasoned, you know. And that could go for anybody, who's whether they've been in this for a while or just kind of a new season, you know. You pretty much don't want to go out unseasoned, you know, so you do want to be reproved. And the Most High answered me and said, write the vision, and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it, you know. And so that's what's happening. These Edomites are running to and fro because they know that their time is near the end, and that the time of the Israelites is coming up. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. It is speaking now. You're seeing it speak, man. We just barely, you know, got done with the Sabbath, and look at how much, in this sense of the new moon, how much has actually happened. And not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. You know, you're seeing things just popping off right and left. Wars everywhere. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. You know, there's nothing upright about Esau. He is a piece of shit, you know. Well, verse 5 explains it. Yea, because he transgressed by wine. You know, how's that? His philosophies, his, you know, everything he does. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. You know, he's got bases everywhere. He tells the whole world who they can and can't trade with. He, you know, then flexes his muscles and moves his warships around. You know, not to mention what he's doing with Iran, you know, by moving in that aircraft carrier and now B-52 bombers, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and as death it cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. He's in the business of everybody and what they do. You better do what the United States says or else. Or else. You know, and that's how Esau, Edom, Amalek works. Should not all these take up a parable against him? Yeah, most of them are saying, fuck America. And a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that laddeth himself with thick clay. And that's what's happening, man. You know, they're pretty much, you know, sick of this place, and they're ready to go to war. They are not buying these S-400 systems because they're looking to make peace. No, they know that the U.S. is about to go to total war in Syria and in the region. Turkey once did their biddings, but now they know. They know that they're about to be attacked. So, of course, they know they're not going to get the F-35 deal. You know, they're not too worried about the F-35 deal. They are looking to Russia to be thou guard unto them. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, and the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, for the violence of the land, of the city, and all that dwell therein. You know, pretty much, you know, they are sick of America, and, you know, it's time. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Yeah, man. You know, Paradise just got destroyed last year, as well as, you know, a lot of the Reading area was destroyed by the Car Fire. And why is that? Because you slaughtered the innocent people. You slaughtered the original people that were here. That is the tribe of Gad. And then guess what happened? You know, fire came and destroyed you. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people that hast sent against thy soul. You know, and so, you know, pretty much, though, this place is being consumed by fire and will be destroyed. And it's going to be a lot bigger than Car Fire or Mendocino Fire or any of them other wildfires we saw, man. We're not even in fire season, but we can see the drums beating for that as they are preparing more and more false flag events. You don't want to go into public places because of the fact that they're quarantined in many places. You got a measles outbreak right here in Reading, you know, as well as in many other places, because, of course, the famines and pestilences and the earthquakes in diverse places, the wars and rumors of wars. You see, no matter what, Matthew 24 is just going to be referenced, you know. But nonetheless, though, we're at the very end of this, so hope all this has been edifying. For that, I want to say Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Barak Atum, death to America, and death to you 2/3.